Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about some of the best farming spots in the game for multiple pieces of solid gear. So no matter the drop, you get value with, some cases, because not every boss is going to have 3, if not more, brilliant drops. Hello, quickly interrupting my own videos just to say I'm going to leave 2 links in the description. One is to Loot Lemon, what is a really valuable source. This is where you can see all of your weapons of the game and how to find them, etc, etc. And then I'm also going to leave a link to Moxsys God Roll list. It's essentially exactly that. It's just a list of some of the best gear in the game and the best rolls that you're hunting for. Really valuable. Anyway, yeah, back to the video. But every single boss on this list has at least 2 really good drops, so no matter what you're doing, you are always going to be farming, and you're going to be getting value. Obviously, kind of goes without saying, but do what you have most fun with. But if there's a boss on this list that has a weapon that you're interested in, it's also worth keeping an eye out for their other items. So, I don't know, let's say Boss A can drop weapon A, but weapon B might also be worth looking out for. So with that said, I'm going to be breaking this down into 3 sections. I'm going to have like world bosses slash bosses that you just encounter all the time. So like in bunkers, in mines, drills, ones from the campaign, stuff along those lines. I'm then going to have a short section for the vaults, and then a section specifically for the last boss of the game, where I will not say his name until later in the video, because the game's only been out a couple weeks. So starting with bunkers, mines, drills, and open world bosses slash campaign bosses. I'm going to try and get through this section pretty quickly, but it is the bigger section, so I might take a little longer. So I'm going to start off with a boss that we are all very familiar with, called Splash Zone. He can drop the jelly grenade, and he can drop the fireworks. He can also drop the lead balloon, but I'm not going to get into that. The fireworks is an unbelievably good shield, definitely worth keeping an eye out for, especially for that early slash mid game mobbing, and it even works very solidly at end game. The only reason I'm not really that big of a fan of using it in end game is because it's an armor shield, not an energy shield, but that's entirely up to preference. And the jelly is a good kind of early game to mid game grenade. It does have some value in end game. I just personally don't use it, but that's because I abuse the living fuck out of the crit knife. I'm joking, for the record. Next is another boss from the campaign that you can find later in the game, called Vile Lictor. Now, he can drop the Super Soldier, what is one of, if not the best shield in the entire game. You can basically look up any build online, and most people are running a Super Soldier. It is just insane value pretty much 24/7. He also has a good array of class mods. One that really does stand out in his class mod inventory is the Undead Eye for Vex. And you're specifically looking for this one that is like a bullet, and it's a green tree perk, and it's like a bullet, and then it's got like blood going around it. That is for Bloodshot. That makes sniping on her unbelievable, and you're trying to get a +5 of it. Obviously, if you can't, then, it's whatever. It's just something you're looking out for. And he also drops the Ruby's Grasp, what I haven't really messed around with much, because I don't have, like, my Rafa fully leveled up. But if you're playing Rafa, that is a really good gun for him, especially if you're using, like, TD or Chuck Rafa. Definitely worth keeping an eye out for, especially because you can roll TD stuff on it, what has like you can throw double the amount of the weapon. So, and I think what that weapon is when you chuck it, when you reload it, it throws out 4 of them. So if you get double of that, you can get 8, which is just absolutely insane. So yeah, keep an eye out for the Ruby's Grasp. Next boss is the Bango Pango. I have quite a lot of experience with this boss. I've fought him quite a lot. But they can drop the Stray, the Prince Harming, and the Phantom Flame. The Stray is one of the best snipers in the game, and absolutely worth looking out for. I've heard good stuff about Prince Harming, so I've included it in this section. I haven't got one myself, so I can't confirm nor can I deny. And the Phantom Flame, again, is just, I've heard really good stuff about it. I do actually have one of them. I haven't messed around with it much, but if you can put it on like Bullet Body Deluxe Rafa, for example, or I'm sure it could work well on even Witchy Trigger Finger Vex. Anything that has like a lot of ammo sustain, I'm sure you can get quite a lot of use from the Phantom Flame. That's also another weapon worth looking out for. Next boss is the Driller Hole. This guy is another campaign boss. You can find him over in Carcadia Burns. He drops 2, again, of really, really good weapons. The GMR is really strong, and it's lovely in his inventory. And the Katagawa's Revenge, what, again, is another really great sniper, especially if you're playing Harlow. My Harlow runs it pretty much all the time. You can use it to melt through bosses. It's a really, really fun weapon to use. Next on the list is Leader Willem. This is from a quest chain that you'll have to do over in Carcadia Burns. You can start it all the way up over towards, what's her name now? Levain. She'll have a quest, or one of the leaders will have a quest, and that starts a chain. You just complete that chain out and you can fight him. He drops the Rainbow Vomit, what I'm sure you're probably aware by now is an unbelievably great shotgun, especially if you can roll one with the 3 elements that you kind of want for, what is like Corrosive Shock and Incendiary. If not, you can roll one of the other, like 2 elements like Cryo or Radiation, or both Cryo and Radiation, and then that's all damage done. Like, you kind of just want to match all elements, so you don't have to be swapping that weapon around a lot. That, and then he can also drop what is by far one of the best ordnance / grenades in the game, the Fire Pot. That is an unbelievable weapon and absolutely worth looking out for. Grenade, rather. Next is a boss that I am not a fan of, like, at all, called Mimicron. But he can drop 2 really, really good weapons. Again, they're great for Harlow, but you can use them on other characters as well pretty well. What are the Lucy Mad Lad? This gun will absolutely rinse through your ammo, but it also rinses through health bars. So, hey, do with that as you will. I'm pretty sure, again, like, this is good on Harlow. I know that for facts. It could probably be pretty good on Rafa and Vex. I'm not sure about Amon. I don't know enough about Amon and his skills. And then Mimicon also drops the Complex Root. Again, another unbelievable gun on Harlow, especially if you can get Atlas Tracker and you can get Jacobs. That thing just becomes a fucking machine, absolutely worth grinding for. Next on the list is the Axe Maul. This guy drops the Bod and the Kill Spring. The Bod is an unbelievable shotgun, like genuinely one of the best, if not the best weapon in the game. It counts as every single weapon, so it can get all your challenges done. It double stacks into buffs on like your enhancements. If you have one that is like assault rifle damage and SMG damage, they're going to stack on one another, and so you're going to get like basically 70-80% extra damage for basically free. It's just like guaranteed free value. I don't know why you wouldn't want a bod, so that's definitely worth looking out for. And then the Kill Spring is what he also drops, what is my preferred rep kit, but essentially what it does is when you kill an enemy, any excess damage goes into the air as these health orbs that will float towards you. It's really, really good for self-sustain, and it can keep you in fights and keep you alive very nicely. This works really well with a lot of like really high damage / instant damage things. So if you're using things like the Hot Slugger, it goes off of one like itself really, really nicely. Yeah. Next is the Back Hive. Now, I've got a bit of a controversial take on this one. The shield that the Back Hive drops, the Cinder Shelly, is one of my favorite shields in the game. It basically just increases your damage resistance up to 50% once you get it fully stacked up, and all you have to do that is just have it equipped. And when you run this on builds like Amp Witch Vex, you just basically become immortal, because you have so much over shield anyway, and then you're getting a 50% damage reduction. It's free. Like, it's so good, and I love that shield. And it also flirts with you. If you're into that thing, like if you're into getting gagged, then this shield is definitely the one for you. Anyway, the Back Hive also drops the Stopgap. That is, again, another brilliant sniper, and again, worth looking out for. And he also drops the Triple Bypass, what is, again, another brilliant rep kit, especially if you're running, if you get like Enrage in it, or Amp, or even Accelerator. All of these are brilliant rolls. Definitely worth looking out for, and definitely worth keeping an eye on, especially for when it does eventually drop for you. Okay, I'm also going to quickly butt in one more time and just say another enemy that's worth mentioning is Moon Called Callus. She drops the Queen's Rest that just got a crazy good buff. That pistol is now literally fucking insane. And she also drops some of the best class mods in the game for pretty much all characters. Yeah. Anyway, back again. Anyway, that covers basically all of the just general bosses that you can go out and find and kill. Next, I want to talk about 2 of the 3 vault bosses, because I don't really think one of them has much value. So first, I want to talk about Radix, who this guy has some of, if not the best class mods, just kind of across the board in the game. He can drop the Teen Witch, what is unbelievable for Vex. He can drop the Grenazerka for Rafa, I believe the Forge Knight for Amon, and I can't remember the Harlow one. I want to say it's Generator. I'm not 1000% sure, but either way, they're all brilliant class mods from my experience using all of them, except Forge Knight. And on top of all of that, he can also drop the Anarchy, what is a brilliant shotgun in my opinion. This thing has a bit of history. In Borderlands 3, it was unbelievable, and I definitely do believe eventually that is going to become some form of air quote meta. And the other boss worth farming when it comes to vaults is Origo. Origo can drop the Chaosan, it can drop the What's for Dinner and the Buster class mod for Rafa. The other class mods, I personally don't have much value because it's Kindred Spirits for Vex, and I'm just not using Red Tree on her. But the Chaosan and the What's for Dinner, the Chaosan is an unbelievable SMG, especially if you can get your stickies as +4. It just becomes a fucking insane weapon, especially if you can deal, like if you have some form of unlimited ammo. You could just fire out for 8 seconds while your Atlas Tracker Dart is on, and then you do reload. Whatever boss you are fighting literally just explodes. It's a very, very good weapon. And then the What's for Dinner is another brilliant, lovely shield worth picking up. Definitely a boss worth grinding. Even if you're looking for just like class mods, you might as well pick up the weapon and the shield as well. Unfortunately, I don't think Inceptus really has any standout pieces of gear in his loot pool, but I'm sure, like, if you're trying to grind for specific class mods, that's good and all, but the other gear that he drops when it comes to, like, weapons and shit, I just don't find very valuable, so I haven't included him on this list. Next, I want to talk about a specific boss, because this boss has one of the biggest and straight up one of the best loot pools in the entire game. And as I said earlier, it's the last boss in the game. It is, spoiler alert, I'll give you a couple seconds here if you want to click off. Spoiler alert's over. It's the Timekeeper. The Timekeeper, he has a good loot pool. And on top of having a good loot pool, he also has one of the best other little things in the game, what I'm going to get into in a minute. So as for the Timekeeper's loot pool, weapons that are worth looking out for, he can drop, including the Primordial one for the record, the Plasma Coil, the Symmetry, the Timekeeper's new shield, and the Borstel Ballista. That's 4 items that are all great. Plasma Coil is just a really solid all-around SMG. Symmetry is a pretty decent sniper, especially if you're running it on characters who need, like, to hit a lot of projectiles. Symmetry is great for that. Or, yeah, I think that's the right one. I'm not sure. TK's new shield, the Timekeeper's new shield. This is unbelievable if you're running a Undead Eye Vex. Like, it is just free value. You basically have no reason not to run it. And then the Borstel Ballista, again, is just an unbelievable sniper. Probably one of the top 3 in the entire game. On top of all of this massive, like, genuinely stacked loot pool, when you go into his vault after killing him, he has 4 red chests. That is the most in one location in the game. Now, you might be thinking, 4 red chests? Who really cares about that? They don't have that great loot. I genuinely think red chest farming is probably the quickest and the most, like, the best way that you're going to try and farm legendary enhancements. So, having 4 chances of it, because every single one of these that you open have the 2 items on the side, really is, well, it's very nice, to put it nice and bluntly. Because every time you go ahead and you kill him, you have, obviously, those 4 chests, 2 on each side. It's what, like 8 chances to get a legendary enhancement, Again, it's just free value, and if you don't get one, you can just like restart the boss over, and then you then have the chance to get any of that brilliant loot that I already mentioned, and then you again have a chance to get enhancements. He's just great. Like, he's genuinely a brilliant boss to farm. I will have a link in this video in the description to Loot Lemon. This is where you can just go on there and you can find basically all of the loot in across every single Borderlands game, and who drops them, and where that boss is, and this, that, and the other. So if there's a boss on this list, like Axmal, or Mimicron, or the Driller Hole, that sounds intriguing to you, and you want to know where they are, and what their entire loot pool is, and all of that good stuff, that will be top link in the description. Anyway, that covers this whole video. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, I will see you, hopefully, in the next one. Bye-bye.